Okay, so I'd like to talk about late work. In this item, I just want to actually walk through in a complete example of how it works, and then talk about how you can get the points that are removed. So that's what you should know, is that yes, I accept late work. If you submit something late, it is discounted 25%. But I do give you a method or a process to actually get those points back. Okay, so now this applies to anything in this class that you've missed. Now, I shouldn't say anything because the only thing that actually doesn't qualify is attendance. And that would be if you're in the face-to-face class, you can't make up attendance, but you should know by now attendance doesn't affect your grade. So we're really talking about classworks, the hands-on, the My IT Lab stuff. So if you have not completed an item, and I wake up the morning after a due date, what am I going to do? I'm going to put a 0 in your grade. Now what can you do is just go ahead and do the work. Now do it completely so you get the max amount of points, because you can see at that point that item is worth 100 points, and so if you get 25% off, that means the max you could get, even if you did all the work for this item or a hands-on or a classwork, is the max you're going to get just by submitting late is 75%, because I discount 25%. So the point is this: you can submit late work. Please do it. Please get it done, because the sooner you get caught up, the better positioned you are to succeed. And the further behind you get, the harder it is to get caught up. So don't let yourself get into that situation. But I understand that my class is one of many. And so sometimes you have to make a decision about letting things kind of roll for that night, focus on something else, but come back as soon as you can and get it done. So now let's actually walk through the example. So I have a couple of scenarios. This is by far the most common one, where a student just didn't get it done. I wake up the next morning, I put a 0 in the grade book. And let's just say this is a classwork. Okay, it was worth 100 points. You submitted it late. So if you did all the work, now that's the key to that statement. If you did all the work, the most you're going to get is 75 points, because you have now submitted something late, and by default it is discounted 25%. Okay, so but again, 75 points is much better than a 0 in your grade book. So that, but I'm going to talk about in a minute how you can even get those 25% points back. But let's complete this example. So in this second scenario, this one is somewhat common, as you forget to do the replies, or you just don't do it, whatever happens. So in that case, you submitted it on time, but you got some points taken off because you didn't do all the work. Can you do it late? Well, let's see if you got this. If you submit that item late, if it was worth 100 points, the max points you can get is 75. So does it really help you? So in that case, if you're just submitting late work, no, it doesn't really help you. But again, I'll talk about this process of getting those points back, and if you use that, then it would be. Now let's actually talk about the third scenario. Student gets 80 points out of 100, right? They submitted it on time, but they want to fix something in what they did, right? So in this case, what happens is, because you've submitted it late, now again, this is the benefit of working ahead. Working ahead allows you to fix issues, because I grade daily most of the time. So if I'm grading and you're submitting work 24 hours ahead of time, then you can fix errors. But if for some reason you didn't, and you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, I missed that, I can fix it, right? At that point, it falls into this category. So there is really no benefit at this point to submit it late. But you still can, because I give you a way to make up these points. So in this case, right, do the work, but then use the process I'm about to talk about to get the full 100 points. Okay? But the other thing is too, well, let's actually move into the next part. Okay? So what I allow you to do is, in my IT lab, for every training that you do, you can ask me to late grade an item, one item for every training. So one training, right, is equal to 1 item submitted late. So if in this case, right, this student here actually submitted that late, but then submitted, and I'm about to show you how to do the actual submitting of the late points returned, then what they would do is they would, and actually either of these scenarios, in this scenario, if you completed it late, but you use my late points returned, then you could get 100. In this scenario, right, now in this scenario, what you did is you upgraded your work. Let's say you fixed your replies, and then you used the process because you had done one of the trainings, so you got back to 100. And in this scenario, this would also be true. You'd use one item, one of your training points, your trainings, to ask me to return late points to you, so that one could also be 100. Okay, so hopefully by now you're getting the idea. So now how do you do this? So let's say, let's now talk about how do you create this sheet. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is go ahead and in your trainings, like you've done the print before, go ahead and hit print and create that PDF file. Okay, that we've already done. I'm not going to go over it. And then place that PDF for that training, and I'm just using Word here. It could be any of the trainings that you've done up in your Shared with Rio. Right, and go ahead, click here, open in a new window, and grab that URL. Okay, so now over here, so what you're going to do is you're going to actually, let me get out of here for a second. So you're going to create, and I have it here, but I'm just going to walk you through. So to create the file, you navigate into the Shared with Rio directory, you hit File, Sheet, okay, and then you're going to create a blank sheet. Now that's really key, is understanding where you have placed that document. Okay, now I have already created it. As you can see here, it's already setting here, but I definitely say recommend, right, late points returned, but I'll show you the formatting that I want you to do. Okay, so I already have one done again, so I'm going to go ahead and just move, right? So now what you want to do is item, it could be items submitted late, right? So in this, let's say classwork. So now training completed. So in this case, what you're doing, all you're doing is typing in the words, word chapter 1, and then what you could do is come over to insert, right, link. Now that's where you would just paste in the URL for the PDF of the training. So this is 1-to-1, right? So for every item submitted late, for every training you've done, you can ask me to give you back those late points. Now the key is you have to submit the work. This I don't just give you the points back, you actually have to earn them back, meaning you have to do the work. And then what we're doing is really just giving you points back for the training that you've accomplished. So now how do you, now that you've done all this, right, how do you send me, or how do you ask me to review it? Well, you can copy this link. And there's two common ways I see students do this. One common way is they just go into their inbox, right? They go in, they click the compose, they click our course, you type Rio Waller, right? Late points returned. And then you just say something like, please review my sheet, right? Now you can do that. By the way, you could also do a shortened link, not a big deal. It's fine to do it like that. Okay, send it off to me, and whenever I see it and I get time, I will upgrade it. Now what's important here is that in your sheet you've given me a comment, you've given me a column is for my comments, and so that I can, because this is really a tracking document between you and I. Okay, so that's how you do it. And some people are trying to actually at the beginning of this semester use some of this, but I'm actually recommending that you hold off and bank some of these, because you never know when you need them. But you can use them however you want them, right? You can use them, but I don't, and by the way, you can't bank them in the sense that you can use them at the end. These are only used for getting late points returned to you. These are not used as extra credit. I don't do extra credit. Okay, so let me show you the last way I see some students submit this, and I think this is actually a pretty good way as well. Some students, when they actually go to submit the item, will actually give me a link to the late points returned. And that's kind of a nice way to do it, because then it's all together. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to move real quick, and we're at the end of this video. I'm going to move to the student view, and let's just say it was that week 2 classwork that they missed. So in the submission, and by now you know, submit the assignment, that's where the URL for your classwork doc would go. So hopefully you know that, right? That's where it would go. So that's where you grab that classwork URL and you place it in this. But in here in the comments, this is where you could say, you could just paste in and make a comment. Here is my late points returned. Okay, so now what you're doing is you're submitting work late, and at the same time you're telling me, listen, I know this is late, and here's my late points returned so that I get those points back. Okay, so I hope that is a more, because this is what students had asked me for, was a more complete example of how it works, what it is, and you know, how do I actually go about getting these points back. All right, hope this helps you out. See you later.